Screen share a go then. I'm going to put you over there.
Well, okay, welcome everyone to this afternoon's webinar, hosted by Lynton Lasers, but we are delighted to be joined by Rick O'Neill. And Rick is a digital guru, really. Digital consultant, I think is your official title, but he is an absolute guru. 20 years experience in digital marketing. You run your own consultancy agency now, and have done for many years, 20 years I think. And
Two different ones over the 20, yeah.
Yeah, but with a specialism in aesthetics and in, you know, the cosmetic environment as it's changed over the past 10 years. I know you've been involved at various different points, and so I think that's really valuable for us as an audience in this capacity to speak to a digital expert who actually understands clinics and knows how they operate. And I know that you're quite involved with the team, part of the team of aesthetic entrepreneurs with Richard Crawford Small, aren't you? So
yep.
We're really delighted and grateful that you've joined us today to go through your insights and share your knowledge and information with us.
Likewise.
So I thought there was quite an interesting title to your webinar today, or a brief for it. Do you want to give us a bit of an overview, or would you like me to?
Yeah, I'm happy to give an overview. So thank you, Hayley, for having me. Pleasure to be here. You've done a lovely intro, so I can skip that part. But it's just to say that, yeah, over that 20 years, I've worked with, well, it started with cosmetic surgeons, then private hospitals, a few pharmaceutical companies, still working with some of those, and lots of aesthetic practitioners and clinics. So as you say, it's handy to have insights into how specifically you can apply digital to this market. But what I wanted to sort of run through today is, and we're getting into it already, I'm pretty clear in my mind that there is no normal to go back to. There's only before COVID and after COVID, certainly from a digital perspective. And by that, I mean the way people behave and what they expect. So COVID has changed the way we do business, as I say, especially from a digital perspective, but also in the aesthetic sector in particular. It's going to change the way we do business forever, I would imagine. And that's not just a dramatic webinar headline. It's happening already. So the headline, the title that I gave this talk, it's very Ronseal. It's what it says on the tin. 10 ways that digital will ensure survival, but also growth in aesthetics. So it's not just about now, it's about how do you come out punching, and how do you build a resilient business using all the different bits of digital that can help you do that. And when I say that things are changing already we're seeing, and this is not just in aesthetics, but across the landscape, if you like, to give context, massive corporations like Barclays and other massive companies that have thousands of people in offices, they're already realizing they can be just as productive, if not more so, with teams working at home. So they're looking at potentially ditching their multi-million-pound buildings in Canary Wharf and other big cities, and that's a huge change. It's not a surprise to me. It'll be a surprise to some, but it's happening. The public, if they didn't already, have realized that they can do most, if not all, of their shopping online if they want to. No doubt there's still a significant percentage that want that real experience, and that's good, especially for us. On top of that, new fears and behavioral shifts are happening. So in every survey that I've seen so far on consumer confidence, there's genuine fear and anxiety about returning to environments where they'll be in big crowds or in close proximity to people. So there is real change happening. It might seem obvious to say that, but it's important to set the context. And I was listening to another webinar by a psychologist. I'm interested in that kind of thing. And he was talking about it takes 3 weeks to form a habit. Well, we're in now what are we, week 10, 11, 12, who knows anymore, of this lockdown. So definitely new habits have formed that will stick. So we've got to adapt to all of those factors, or frankly, we'll be left behind. So, of course, as the digital guy, not guru, digital guy, bloke, geezer, you'd expect me to advocate for digital, and I do wholeheartedly advocate for digital, but that's not just because it keeps me in cars and holidays. It's because right now, more than any other time in history, it's businesses that truly embrace digital, invest in it, trade with it, embed it within every fabric of their day-to-day operations. They're going to be the ones that not only survive little things like 3-month clinic closures, but also they're going to thrive in the new way of doing things. People's behaviors, expectations, the market conditions. As a result of all these digital efforts, they'll be the businesses that are resilient enough to scale, and they can operate in these new, unusual situations that we might find ourselves in. So what I want to talk you through today is effectively a roadmap consisting of 10 different ways that digital can help you, as I said, not just survive, but grow in the aesthetic sector. What the roadmap looks like, what you need to focus on in order to become a digital business. And when I say digital business, I don't mean that you've got to become Facebook, Amazon, Google, anything silly like that. I mean your business, but powered and operated digitally in all the right areas so that you can scale, be more consistent, provide a fantastic patient experience, make more profit, get more time back to do the things that you love, or use it to spend time with the people that you love. Can't be bad, right? So step one on the, or stop one on the roadmap and on the road to being a digital business is becoming a media company. What do I mean? What am I talking about? Well, there's a chap called Gary Vaynerchuk, hugely successful guy, runs his own digital agency, actually. He started out selling wine with his dad. If you haven't heard of him or seen any of his content, firstly, I'm surprised. And secondly, make sure you look him up. Incredible guy, really knows what he's talking about. Almost as much as Richard Crawford Small. But he said 6 years ago that the faster your business realizes that it's a media company, the more likely it is to succeed in 2020, 2025, and 2030 and beyond. Now, that's already been true for some time, but as we come out of this COVID era, it's now going to be a fundamental part of any small business strategy, aesthetic clinics included. And obviously these days, when we say media, we really mean digital media. And by far the biggest channel in digital media these days is social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Pinterest, the TikTok one that my wife's forced to partake in, and all the others. Now, social media is and continues to be one of our primary methods of communicating with patients and potential patients, and never more than now. In fact, at the moment, Facebook are reporting surges of activity bigger than they see on New Year's Eve and other kind of peak moments in the year. There's more people online right now than ever before, and that's going to remain for a long time now. So during the outbreak, but also after. So social media is a major communication channel right now. But lockdown or not, social media is increasingly where patients go for their initial research. So, and even in a lockdown, they're doing that. We see that on Google Trends. We see it when we do things like social listening, where we're using tools to see what people are searching for at this time. They're back to pre-COVID levels and beyond in terms of them searching for aesthetic solutions. So there is this kind of pent up demand, and that's where they're going. They're going to social media. They're looking also for peer-to-peer review. So they're talking to their friends about, what did you get done? Who did you have it with? How was it? They are looking for social proof. So before and after results, etc. And rightly or wrongly, it's where they go for education, news, entertainment, inspiration. So what Gary Vaynerchuk meant when he said become a media company is that your competitors are no longer just the clinics that you think you compete with. They're all the other businesses and brands that are competing for the attention of the same people that you're targeting. So that's why you've got to be there amongst all that other content that they're consuming to stay front of mind and have a chance. So to succeed now and going forward, every aesthetic clinic needs to be at the front line of this war for attention, with a continual flow of digital and social media content, or even educational content like what we're doing now. To achieve that, you've got to think like a media company. So, every 1 minute of video that you produce, you need to be thinking, okay, I've done a 1 minute video, but that could also be 30 pieces of smaller content, tweets, stories, audio files, Facebook posts, etc. So you've got to create a content machine within the business to keep you front of mind and to gain your fair share of the attention of your target audience. And achieving that is going to ensure that you retain that attention of existing patients and attract new ones by, as I say, staying front of mind when they're considering their options. So, number one, become a media company. Second thing, again, we're eating our own dog food here, Hayley. We're doing this. We're streaming everything. There's no format of content in your new media business that you've now built which is any more engaging than live streamed content. So whether it's Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Instagram Live, webinars like this one, that opportunity that social media and current web tech provide to enable you to be live and interactive with your audience, it's massive. It's never been seen before in history. You need to be grabbing it with both hands, and it really can make the difference between the winners and the not so winning in a particular niche like aesthetics. Aesthetic practitioners and clinics that embrace live streaming in a consistent and engaging manner are right now enjoying a much wider reach on social media, higher engagement with their followers, and as a result, they're driving additional traffic to their businesses. Not only that, but by opening themselves up to live streaming directly to their patients, they're achieving the three critical elements that you must achieve before someone will book with you or spend money with you. Through the live streaming, they can become known. People will hear about you. Maybe people will like you, and hopefully they'll trust you. You've got to be known, liked, and trusted by someone before they will put their face or their body or whatever in your hands as a practitioner. So live streaming is one of the best ways of achieving those three things, because you get the awareness, so they'll know about you. If you're engaging, once you get the hang of it, and it's not comfortable doing live stuff, I get that. When I first did it, I hovered over that go live button for a long time. Then I didn't do it, I bottled it, and then I did. And then I'd quickly switched it off, and that was worse because I was just rabbit in the headlights, and then I went for it. But the more you get into it, the more comfortable it becomes. So if you're engaging, once you get the hang of it, they'll like you. And then because you know what you're talking about and you are experts, they'll trust you. So you're breaking down all those barriers. And what that means is when they do come to book with you, all the objections, the normal ones that you'd get from someone coming to you cold, are out the window. So objections about pricing and whether you've got the right expertise, they're much, much lowered or removed completely because you've done all that hard work through your content. So it's not a pointless exercise just to get likes. It's you're educating people, you're changing their hearts and minds, their perceptions, and you're achieving this know, like, trust factor as well before they even pick up the phone or send you a message or book with you. So that's the second stop on the roadmap, live stream. Now, outside the world of social media, there's this other important channel.
Rick, sorry to interrupt you, but someone has asked what live streaming is. Can you confirm what live streaming is? Can you explain it?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's what we're doing now. So we are streaming live over the internet. We are we're currently using Zoom, but there's other tools available like Facebook Live, Instagram Live. Anything that's happening live over the internet is a live stream. Does that answer the question?
Yes, lovely. Thank you, Rick.
No worries. Take a drink. So outside of social media, there's this other big channel, which I know you've all heard of, called Google, right? And for aesthetic clinics and practitioners, the kind of SEO, which is your search engine optimization work, the kind of SEO that matters most is local SEO. Now, this is the results that appear on Google when people are searching for aesthetic treatments near to them. Now, 90% of these types of treatments or searches for treatments happen on a mobile, and the location of that mobile is tracked as part of that search. And then depending on a whole range of factors that Google looks at about you, your presence on Google and your website, they will decide where to put you in that list of results. And it used to be at the top of the page, along with the map, that there were 8 nearby clinics in our case, but now they've cut it down to 3. So it's even more important that you're optimized to be in with a shout, to be in that list of top 3 in a local search. And just to reiterate, this is what they call the snack pack or the map pack at the top of a Google search. There'll be a map there and there'll be 3 businesses highlighted. Then beneath that, you get all the other Google results. But this map section is critical because that's your best shot. And it's actually one of the easiest ways of optimizing and getting traffic. This is your best shot at ranking for the terms that you need to rank for and getting the traffic share that you need. So to get your fair share of that traffic for these kind of searches, there are 8 key ranking factors that you need to optimize on a continual basis. And when I say you, and this is a whole other topic, I actually think that you should delegate as much of this as you can, because it can be quite frustrating dealing with digital marketing, websites, SEO, and frankly, you haven't got the time. You're a busy aesthetic practitioner. You're really, really good at what you do. And if you find the right digital person, they'll be really good at what they do. If and when you decide to delegate it, make sure you can get a personal recommendation for that person from someone you trust. Don't just go cold, because there's loads and loads of people that claim to be experts in digital that are not, and that were 6 months ago doing something completely different. So make sure you can get a personal recommendation. But those ranking factors that you or the person doing it for you needs to be optimizing are as follows. The first one is your Google My Business profile. Now, Google My Business is not just a funny phrase that I'm using. It is a platform. It's an app that Google provide for free to enable you to manage your presence on Google. So if you haven't set this up yet, make sure you do. Make sure you have a profile there for your clinic. You verify your business, which ironically they do by sending you a postcard with a code on it. Not very digital, but that's how they do it. And once you've verified, that's actually a big step, and that can help with your ranking. But then you follow the steps that they provide to populate that Google business profile as best you can. And that really helps. The second thing is what are referred to as backlinks, which are links from other websites that point to yours. And this is a big thing that Google look at. And you might come across people offering to do this for you very cheaply. Just avoid that. It's quality that matters, not quantity, because if you go and buy backlinks, you'll end up with dodgy ones and it will go against you. So don't do that. Everything in digital now is about authenticity. If what you're doing doesn't feel very authentic or seems a bit too good to be true, it is. So don't do it. So you've got to work on your online PR to get these backlinks. So write articles for other businesses or publications in the sector and make sure they always link back to your site. That's basically how you achieve backlinks. The third thing that Google are looking at in order to rank you is your content. So write high quality content that answers the key questions that patients have about the treatments that you offer. And have a look at things like answerthepublic.com, which is a fantastic website, and another one called Google Trends. And you'll see there in real time what people are asking about around the treatments that you offer. So then all you've got to do is write content that answers those questions. So that's the trick to good SEO and achieving rank and traffic to your site, is you write the content that answers the questions that everyone is asking right now, and you keep doing it. Simple as that. Fourth one is something weird called citations, which is basically wherever your business is mentioned on the internet, the way they talk about you should be identical in every case, right down to how the phone number is written, the address and the web address and the company name. That's known as NAP by Google, name, address, phone number. And if it's consistent and the same everywhere it appears, then Google plops them all together and increases your score, your rank as a credible business that is cited in a citation across the web. So it's a bit of a weird one, that, but it's really important. So whenever you get asked to join a directory or be listed somewhere, or when you write an article, make sure how your name is written and the number and the address is always identical. It really helps. Sounds silly, but it really helps. The fifth one in terms of ranking factors with Google is reviews. Positive reviews are a major factor in where Google places you in local listings, but also in the main listings below the map as well. And so you need to work hard on these. And I know that not everybody wants to leave them, but you need to work on the process for requesting them. Try automating it if you can. And I'm going to cover automation in a minute. Also, just make it really easy for them. So in your treatment area, your clinic, have an iPad out open on the Google profile for you with a card next to it, giving instructions how to leave a Google review, because they make a big difference. The sixth one is on-page behavior, which sounds maybe technical and complex, but it's really just how do people react when they hit your website. And if you use Google Analytics to track the traffic on your website, it's also tracking how people react to your website. And Google look at those stats because they own Google Analytics, so they can do that if they like. Remember, if it's free, you are the product. They look at that to determine where they should place your website, because they want people they send to have a really good experience. So if, for example, your homepage is not as good as it could be and it puts people off and they leave immediately, that's what's known as a bounce, and it would harm your ranking. And so there's things you can do to improve these things, reduce your bounce rate, improve the stickiness of your homepage. And a bit later, I'm going to mention a way for you to get 2 free guides from me with 30 ways that you can improve the conversions on your website, which will help with this ranking factor of on-page behavior. So we'll come back to that. 7th one is what they call personalization, but what they mean is having a website that works well on mobile and for voice search. So firstly, 90% of your traffic is going to be coming from people on a smartphone. So you have to have a website that works fast and really easily on a small mobile screen. That's critical to your search rank and to converting people to making a booking. Just think about that again. 90% of the traffic to your website on average in aesthetics is happening on a mobile or a tablet, not on a laptop. And a common mistake that a lot of people make when designing their websites is they only ever look at it on a laptop when they're approving the designs. But you've really got to think about the mobile experience for it. It makes a big, big difference. So the other part of personalization that we talk about is voice search. It's massively on the rise. People using Alexa, Google Home, not so much Siri, because Siri seems a bit dim if you ask me, but Alexa and Google, people are using them to find clinics, to find treatments near them, to do all sorts of things. And when they ask Alexa, for example, where can I get hair removal treatments in Mayfair, they do it in a much more conversational way. It's a much longer search phrase that they use. So going back to the content writing, you need to be writing content that Alexa would understand. So a conversational, a longer heading for these articles that you write. And the last thing that Google look at is your social media. So again, going back to being a media outlet, you've got to have all your social signals running constantly. So having an active following, people engaging with you, commenting, liking. Google look at those social signals to determine where to rank you. So there's a lot there. SEO, search engine optimizing in Google is a week-long workshop, really, and I've just wanged through that in 3 or 4 minutes. But you can get any of this information from me whenever you like. I'm going to put my email address up a bit later, so feel free to come back to me on it. So that was the milestone 4, I believe, own local SEO. Next one is you need a high converting website to be a digitally enabled practice. So when you're driving potential patients to your clinic website from your new media empire, from your brand new Google presence that you've built, you then need to ensure that you don't lose them once they land on the homepage. So the more digital we become as a society, people's expectations go up about the experience they're going to have with websites or apps or any kind of digital online experience. So people now have and will have an even higher expectation off the back of lockdown as to what they're going to get when they land on a website. So if we don't meet their expectations, we lose their interest really quickly, and it's within seconds. And we all do it. You probably do it. When you're looking for anything, you'll have multiple tabs open. You'll be researching the best this or the best that, who's the expert in this, or what's the best quality this. And within seconds, you're looking at websites and closing them, making really quick decisions. Well, to some extent, they're doing the same when they're looking at nearby clinics, when they're initially researching. Now, I'm not saying people decide what practitioner to use based purely on their website, but it all adds up to their perception when they first come across you as a brand or as a business. So you need to invest sensibly in your website. Trying to get something up quickly and cheaply will probably cost you down the line. So if you can't afford to invest in a high quality website now, then just wait. Work with your social media alone until you can, or just put up a basic holding page using one of the free web builders, but explain that it's temporary. When you're creating or updating your website, there's some key things that you can do that you can incorporate to ensure you hit this milestone of having a high converting website and therefore get as many patients as you deserve to. So here's just a few of them. You can include a welcome video on your homepage. It's your chance to capture their attention as soon as they arrive. And in my experience, websites with a 2 or 3 minute personable piece to camera, like I'm doing now, welcome video, get way higher conversion rates and way lower people exiting from the homepage. Invest in a clean contemporary design, because we talked about you've got a few seconds to make that lasting impression. Ensure that the title of the site gets across exactly what your clinic is all about, who it's for, what problems it solves, in one sentence. Make sure the site is easy to navigate and works fast on a mobile, for the reasons that we talked about before. 90% of your traffic, they're going to be on a smartphone. So check your website experience on a smartphone. So I mentioned that I'm going to give whoever drops me an email, that's my email address. It might look unusual, but that is my email address. If you drop me an email there, just mentioning Lynton Lasers webinar, you will get back these 2 documents. The first one has about 20 or so, I think 23 different ways that you can improve the conversion rate to booking and inquiries on your website. And the second one is the top 10 mistakes that people make when building their websites and running their digital marketing in an aesthetic setting. So drop me an email on that address. I'm sure Hayley will share the email address with you after as well. Now, next stop on the roadmap, and I know some of you have been doing this with great effect already, but it's going to have to be something that stays with your business going forward, is to reimagine your treatments, but in a digital context. So as this new normal that we're in now could involve possibly further lockdown periods where we have to close again, could happen. But whatever happens, the behavior and the concerns of people have been changed, as I said at the top of the presentation. So to succeed on a consistent basis, your practice needs to reimagine your existing treatments and whether any aspects of them can be delivered remotely, or if not, what new types of service can you create that could be. So review the practice. What services can you continue to offer? Is it skincare consultation, acne clinics, regular check-ins, skincare product advice? They're all things that could be delivered purely remotely using a combination of video. And they could even be on a subscription basis. So maybe 6 to 12 month packages that are delivered remotely. So what is it that you do now or could start doing that could be delivered via video, via chatbot, paid for online, and ideally delivered on a repeating basis so that you get recurring revenue? So have a think about that. And to facilitate all of that, then online payments, e-commerce functionality are going to need to be part of your digital landscape, your strategy, your digital real estate. So if you've got an agency, great, work with them to ensure you can take payments for consultations online or some of these other treatments or products. Make sure if you're selling products, you can sell them through a web shop. So have a look at tools like Stripe for taking payments, or Shopify for e-commerce functionality and getting a shop up and running quickly. If you're on a WordPress site, there is a very cool module that you can plug into it called WooCommerce, and that will help you get up and running quickly with a web shop. But also have a look at the brand new Facebook shop facility that is about to go live in the UK. It's live in America now, and it will be here soon, because that's going to provide a completely frictionless e-commerce experience where your followers will be able to purchase from you without leaving Facebook. Not only that, and I think this is really cool, you're going to have the ability to tag your products. Those could be services. They could be products or services in your live videos. So if you combine what I was saying earlier about putting out plenty of content, it being live and being an e-commerce to some extent business, this provides 3 big ticks for that, because you're going to be producing content that is live, and within your live video, they're going to be able to, using Facebook Shop, tap, when you mention a product, tap the screen and purchase it without leaving the live. Awesome. Remains to be seen how good it is, but that's the promise. Mr. Mark Zuckerberg came out last week to tell us all about it on a Facebook Live, as you would expect. Now, there's already on Instagram shoppable posts, which are kind of similar, and they let you tag products in Instagram posts and go and buy them. So take advantage of all of this. That's what I'm saying. If you don't sell anything now that can be done via e-commerce, then what could you start selling via e-commerce and start doing so? You know, additional revenue streams that can continue digitally, regardless of what's happening at your clinic. They're going to be crucial to survive now and thrive in what comes after. Then there's a lot, right? Don't worry, it's all fine. Once you've done all that work to attract patients to your practice, so they heard about you through the media or the live streams, they found you on Google, they had a great experience on your website, they're now booking with you. You've then got to make sure that you've built a digital onboarding process to ensure that they have a slick, consistent, optimized experience with you and your practice. And the first step of any onboarding process for an aesthetic clinic is when they make that booking with you for a consultation. If you're still a practitioner that's handling this manually, taking phone calls, replying to texts or DMs or Facebook chats, using paper diaries or offline diaries, you are causing yourself a survival problem, but more importantly, a growth problem. You have to get digital with this at least. If you do nothing else from this webinar and you haven't done this already, make sure your booking process is online, digitized. It saves you thousands of hours a year, thousands of pounds. I'm going to talk about that in a sec when I mention automation. Many practitioners that I meet still handle onboarding patients in this manual fashion, and they tell me that they've got this issue of trust with technology. They don't trust the tech to do this for them. And the brutal truth about that is that whilst people are worrying about trusting technology, their competitors are using technology to scale faster than they do. At the same time, they are also providing a much better experience to their patients, because digital can do that for you. It can make sure the process and the experience is consistent. So having a digital onboarding process means carefully thinking through the whole process from when a person first hears about you all the way through to being a repeating patient and even an advocate of your practice. So by creating an online booking function, that's the first part of a process. Simple tools like calendly.com are worth looking at. There's a lot of full clinic softwares. There's lots of good things about each of them. But if you don't have one of those in place and you don't have online booking, something like calendly.com allows you to get this up and running in a couple of hours, if that. It's dead easy. And it integrates into your website. It can be linked to from your social media. It synchronizes with your calendar. Very easy to integrate, as I said. Provides a great experience on a mobile. Remember what we said again, 90% of the people coming to you are on a phone, and it's obviously available 24/7 and you're not. But obviously the onboarding process doesn't finish with the booking, but we'll cover that off a bit later when we talk about automation. Obviously, as well, with clinics closed, video consultations are one of the only ways we can continue to communicate. But a truly digital practice that wants to thrive in the new normal needs to look beyond lockdown and integrate video into its practice in a much more permanent way. So, for example, moving those initial screening calls to videos, or incorporating video chat into the website for inquiries, or including options for video consults at every step of the process. So really baking video in to the process. Also, having a digitally focused aesthetic business also means, for those of us with teams, being able to work together, collaborate, and be productive from anywhere. It's not just about being able to work from home, but also being able to manage any aspect of your business from your phone or your tablet, and ensuring that your records, your files, your notes, etc., are all held digitally and backed up in the cloud. That's what being a secure, agile digital business includes. There's some useful tools that I would recommend you have a look at. Have a look at Workplace by Facebook for collaborating with each other, conferencing, sharing files, etc. Have a look at Trello, if you haven't already, for keeping you organized with your different projects within the business, and Dropbox for business as well. Although iCloud are going to be moving to a business service soon, and it'll be a lot cheaper than Dropbox. And lastly, it's my biggest thing that I want you to remember from today: embrace automation. Now, I've watched lots of other brilliant webinars. I've also dumped quite a lot of information on you, and there's a lot to implement. And so you might be thinking, how am I going to find the time or the resources to do all this stuff? You might be feeling overwhelmed, and that is perfectly natural. And that's where automation comes in, because you cannot implement everything I've told you today effectively without automating as much of it as possible. And for me, automation is much more than just a technical thing. It's a way of approaching your business, or a way that I've approached my business, and it's given me back more time that I can spend with my family. It's increased my profit margins in the business, and it's improved my clients' experience because it's consistent every time, and that's led to much more repeat business. And it can do the same for an aesthetic practice. Automation can help you provide a great experience for your patients. It reduces manual tasks for you and your clinic teams, and it gives you back lost profits by reducing the time you're spending on all those repetitive admin tasks. There's thousands of simple to use apps and tools that enable these types of automation. And there are also systems that allow you to get all these apps to talk to each other, to manage different workflows in your practice whilst you're asleep or doing something more interesting. So that ensures your business processes are happening whether you're there or not. This is not just important for patient experience, your sanity, and for profit, but if you ever want to sell your business, this makes it much more valuable to someone that wants to buy it, because it doesn't depend on you so heavily. And businesses that have these cool digitized experiences get much more repeat business because people have a great experience with it. There's typically 8 areas of a practice that can be automated: consultation or treatment bookings, reminders, reviews, taking payments, handling inquiries, your marketing, aftercare information or subscription models, and getting consent. And all of that can be tied together and automated into these workflows. I calculated in a previous talk that if you just took one of these workflows that automates your appointment bookings, the reminders, payments, and generating the invoice, that saves you 36 grand's worth of your own time every year. That's just one of these 8 areas. So have a think about that. So what have we just walked through, albeit at pace? is this roadmap to becoming a digital aesthetic practice, and for not only surviving but growing through this new normal. So get used to being a media co, stream everything, own your local search optimization, build a high converting website, reimagine your treatments digitally, build the capability to trade online, create a digital onboarding process, integrate video wherever you can, be a digital team, and embrace automation. So that's everything I wanted to talk to you about. If your head hasn't exploded, then you weren't listening. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, mine exploded a bit there. Well, I mean, I guess that's an important thing to address, because I sympathise with Margarita, one of our watchers, who's put yours is a bit over my head. I do sympathise with that, because there's just so much, isn't there? There's just so much to cover. And, you know, I think you just got to remember that you can't just do all of this on your own.
No.
You know, the reality is that, you know, this, you know, there's so much to do. How on earth could we do it all?
There is, but do you know what? You're doing all of it already, but you're just doing it the hard way. That's the truth. You're doing all of this already. You're doing it the hard way. So everything I've said here, you're already doing. You're already trying to run a social media presence, but you're doing it manually and ad hoc with no, well, not all of you, but a lot of you with no fixed plan. You may or may not be live streaming, but if you are, you again, it's ad hoc. There's no kind of strategy. You've got a website. There's some SEO done on it or not. So, and at every stage of this, you're already doing bits of it, but doing it the hard way. My point is having a plan, automating as much of it as possible, and delegating as much of it as possible turns you into a very different business where you can scale. You can work on the business and not in it. You're not having to remember so much in your own mind and having to remind everybody else what to remember. It's you know, it looks like a lot, but my big point is this is to give you time back, not to eat it all.
But how do you cope with the well, okay, some questions here. What automated apps would you recommend?
Right. So the first one that I always recommend, if you haven't already got a booking process in place, then Calendly is super easy to install and set up, and it's got some automation in it. So it will, if you connect it to Stripe, it takes the payment. So that's the payment bit done. It can also send reminders to the patient a couple of days before, or a day before, or an hour before, whatever you choose, before the appointment. It can send texts, it can put it into their diary, and it can send a follow-up email. Then if you want to do some of these other types of things that I talked about, where that process triggers another one and it happens automatically, there's a platform called Zapier, Zapier, which will take something like Calendly and maybe MailChimp, which some of you might have for your email campaigns, and it will get them to talk to each other. And it will say, okay, every time someone books a treatment for tattoo removal, for example, they go onto this list in MailChimp, and over the next year, they get these 6 pre-written emails, which are relevant to people who've had tattoo removal. And so you're automating the follow-up marketing then as well. And stuff like that, like what I've just described, someone that you're delegating it to could do it in probably half a day to a day, or you could sit over a couple of days and do it yourself. There's no coding involved. It's drag and drop, and most of these platforms talk you through how to do it.
And what about the online consultation forms?
So again, I mentioned in the talk, there's lots of kind of full clinic platforms. So you got, you know, Pabao and Fresher and all these others. If you don't have one of those, because a lot of those have online consent forms, consultation forms within them, there's really simple apps that you could use to take a traditional consultation form, whether it's a paper or PDF one, and turn it into a digital one. So things like Typeform is really, really nice, easy to use, works really well on a phone as well. And the great thing about something like Typeform is it is part of the Zapier tool that I talked about. So Zapier will connect every app that you see on this screen here, right? And it will get them to talk to each other. So Typeform, you could have it linked into your booking process, that once they've made the booking, they get asked to fill out a certain form, and it can all happen automatically.
Okay, can I go through some of the Q&A then?
Yeah.
Is it only people with Gmail accounts that can leave a Google review?
Not necessarily a Gmail account, but you have to have a Google account. Yes. So that's why it's a lot of the objection I hear is that people don't want to do that because they can't do it anonymously. And I do get that. And it is a struggle. And Google reviews are just slightly more important than Facebook reviews. So you should probably go for both. But what I say to people is try your best to get one more Google review than your competitor that you're worried about, and then switch to getting Facebook reviews.
Okay, good
strategy. They make a big difference to your SEO.
And what do you think about paying for Google AdWords?
I think when you're at a certain level, it can make sense if you want to go to that next level of scale. But you can achieve an awful lot without going to Google AdWords. When you do, talk to someone that knows what they're doing with it, because if you just have a go, it's really easy to burn a lot of cash when you first start. I've heard some horror stories. I'm not a scaremonger, but I'm just saying, be careful. Some people switch it on and they don't realize that because they've put in such broad search terms, their ads are delivering 24/7 and they're racking up a big bill because it's based on every time someone clicks on it. And if it's a competitive term, that can be £4, £5, £6, £7 a click sometimes. So if you're going to do it, focus on the longer tail search terms, which include where you are. Try A/B testing things with just small fixed budgets. But ideally, again, don't distract from what you're the expert in your day-to-day, and try and get someone to help you with it. And always, if you're going to do that, make sure it's someone you can get a personal referral from.
And someone's asked, what's the best way to manage Facebook and a salon page so people can see it? I find Facebook on a phone doesn't show things in post order and only shows people who you're more interactive with.
Yeah, absolutely. So Facebook and Instagram, once upon a time, all the posts in the home feed were chronological. So it was when you log on, it was everything from everyone you follow or are friends with in the order they posted it. But it's not now. It runs off an algorithm. So it has a machine learning brain that's constantly trying to predict when Rick looks at Facebook, what's he going to find most interesting and relevant. And there's a whole load of ways they do that. They don't always get it right. But in terms of running your Facebook page, they have made it very hard for you to get your content seen from Facebook business pages. They've pushed down the organic reach of each post, by which I mean the amount of people that see a post when you put it on your Facebook page without paying to promote it. That reach is now between 5 and 10% of your followers, if you're lucky, will see a post. And they've done that because they want people to use their paid advertising platform, frankly. So one of the best things you can do is, yes, have a Facebook business page because it's important to have that. But try to move people into a Facebook group whenever you can, to create a much more engaged, visible community around your patients or your customers. Because Facebook actually loves groups because it hits one of their big values of being a community of like-minded people. In aesthetics, it's helpful in loads of ways. Firstly, it's much more engaging. When you post content into a group, people actually get notified that you've done so that much more of them see it. Also, people tend to think it's a safer space for them to be in because it's not so public that they're following a clinic. It might be that they don't want their friends to know they're having some kind of treatment, but if they're in a closed group, that's not a problem. So if you can, use your page in conjunction with a Facebook group, and you'll get a higher rate of engagement and visibility.
Okay, super. Right, I'm just going to nip back into the chat and have a look here at what we have. So we've had a lot of people just ask to repeat some of the things that you've talked about today.
Not surprising.
So there was a Gary, somebody mentioned at the start, who we all ought to check out. So is it okay, Rick, if after this you and I have a chat and we just write down a list of the sort of extra resources, and then we can email that out to everybody who's watching?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no problem.
And if there's anything that anybody sort of specifically wants, then feel free to ask away now. I know that Margarita had asked to repeat the name of the onboard booking app. That was Calendly, wasn't it?
Calendly. Yeah,
Calendly.
it's a terrible name, but it's a fantastic tool.
And how does that work with your social media? So if you have somebody on Facebook saying, "Oh, I'd like an appointment for hair removal," how do you integrate Calendly with that?
Yeah, see what I mean about the name. Doesn't really roll off the tongue, does it? So there's a few ways. You have a Calendly link. So it'll be calendly.com/your clinic name. And on that page will be all the different types of things they can book. Or in your Facebook page, your Book Now button can be linked to the Calendly page. Or every time you create a new treatment type to book within Calendly, that can be embedded within your website. So you could send them to that page on your website. Or the other way is that you can have it as part of a chatbot. So whenever they use the word book or consultation or appointment, it could automatically bring up the link in the chat for you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, I've just seen your comment, Margarita. So apologies. I didn't mean to call you out there for saying that you felt it was a bit over your head. I genuinely mean there's a couple of people who throughout this webinar have commented that they do feel it's quite intense, and I share that sentiment. I find this quite overwhelming, to be honest, for me, even though we do quite a lot of I'm involved in quite a lot of social media. I have two people that help out with the social media and the digital, the fantastic Nicole and Melissa, but still it's because it changes so often as well, isn't it? So now we have TikTok. I mean, should we be doing something with TikTok as businesses? I mean, should we at Lynton be doing something with it?
No.
You can't keep up.
No, I mean, yes, there are these other platforms. I was a little bit tongue-in-cheek when I mentioned TikTok. The mainstays are Instagram in this sector, right? They mean more than anything else. And so run those. Don't worry about the rest until you've got capacity to do so. And then you can, there's things you can do with Pinterest and Twitter that can get interesting when you need to scale. But again, what I say about the overwhelm is, number one, just delegate it whenever you can. You guys are aesthetic experts. There's digital experts. Everyone should stick to what they do best. I'm certainly not about to go administering my own aesthetic treatments anytime soon, because that would be a disaster. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, of everything I've said today, take away the idea of automating things, because that reduces overwhelm. Honestly, when I first started automating things in my business, it was like a massive relief. Huge, because I was doing everything. I had 20 odd people working for me, and it was stressful, and I was having to remember everything they needed to remember. And when they hadn't done it, I'd pick them up on it. Business owners will relate. But automation solved all of that. It also enabled me to get loads of time back on stuff that I was doing that could be automated. So the one thing and that's why I spent more time talking about the automation, is I know there's a lot here. And this is, this roadmap, these 10 things, if you nail all of these, you will grow, no doubt. You will grow at a faster rate than you have before, but the automation will get you there. So automate what you can, delegate what you can't, and you'll be a very good way there onto this roadmap. So I do get it.
Could I ask a financial question? If you talked earlier about having really high converting websites, and then saying if you can't afford to go for one of those, almost don't bother, stick with your social media. How much would a clinic expect to need to invest to get a high converting website?
So a high converting website is something that you keep working on. So what you build initially is your website. The high converting website is what you craft and create once you've got it. And those guides anyone who's already got a website will take you through all those ways that you can do it. But as a starting guide, a good quality website, you're not really going to achieve it for less than a couple of grand. And that's usually a semi-custom website. It's not a fully custom website. So you're starting with some sort of theme, tailoring it. There are lots of people out there doing much, much cheaper websites, but what you get is a cheap website. You get what you pay for. A custom website would be sort of 5 to 6K starting price, by which I mean you start with a blank sheet, you get exactly what you are looking for in terms of design. Where it gets into larger budgets, up to between 5 and 20K, the differences are e-commerce, private members areas, lot more and more functionality. The conversion stuff is actually just small changes. So introducing a video on the homepage, or having a much slicker booking system, or making sure it works faster on a phone. Those are all the things that you do once you've got it live to begin with, because you don't know which bits of your website are going to perform until it's been live for 3 to 6 months.
Nicolette was asking about the Typeform app earlier that you mentioned earlier, and I think she's been looking for it for the iPad, but she's not sure if there is one. So is that something that's only Android, or does it cross into Apple?
So to build Typeforms, it's all done on a laptop, on a browser. There is an app for it, but it doesn't have the full build functionality for creating the forms. And then when people receive your forms to fill them out, they do it on their phone, but in the web browser. So it's not so much an app in the true sense of the word, it's a web app. So you go to typeform.com, you create an account, and it's got the whole suite of tools that you can use to create, for example, your online consultation forms.
So, okay. Oh yeah, quite we use Avatu in our clinic as well, actually, and there's just people mentioning on the chat that they are doing that's an option for people at the moment. But it's kind of making sure that you get everything, isn't it, all together, and that you get all sorts of everything talking to one another. And I know Avatu can be very good for certain things, but what you're talking about is an overall more collaborative process, I guess, across all of your channels.
Yeah, and as I say, there are some really good platforms, and that's one of them. You've really just got to find the one that works for you if you're going to go for an off-the-shelf platform like that, because they all do almost everything, and they all do different things, or they all don't do different things. So you've really just got to find the one that works best for your particular needs. Speak to your colleagues in the sector. But the way that we go about it is we use kind of what are known as microservices. So they're small apps that do certain jobs, and we get them to talk to each other, because that way you can be much more agile about it, and you can change your workflows without having to raise a ticket with a big software company and just hoping that they'll listen to you. This is about having something that's bespoke to you, the way you do things, and being able to change it really quickly. So, but both are valid, and for many, it's easier to just get something off the shelf and work with it. But the way that we particularly do it is to bolt these little apps together so that you can keep it nimble.
Mm-hmm. So automation is our way forward.
It is. It's got to be done. It will change your life. Trust me.
Well, I can quite imagine it would, because there's many an 8 o'clock at night at the moment where I'm individually replying to certain things. So
yeah, and I mean, you know, to some extent that will remain as, you know, business leaders. That's sometimes part and parcel, but there's a hell of a lot that you can automate, which some of it is obvious and some less so, because the tech has moved on to such an extent. You really can set it up to be very clever. So just one example in our agency, and it's more relevant to an agency, but just to make the point, we got our automation to such an extent that our proposals for bigger projects are built digitally using a tool called Proposify. And when somebody signs that, they can also pay the deposit, they get invoiced, they go onto our project management system, they get a phone call from a woman that sounds a bit like Alexa to thank them for signing the contract. An order goes through to the donut bouquet company in London, and the client gets sent a bouquet of donuts. It goes on and on like this. There's about 42 steps or something like that in this workflow, and we don't touch it. We build the proposal and send it. When they sign it, all these things happen. So you can really automate, and that reduces the overwhelm. That's my point. Digital can be your friend.
Well, thank you ever so much. I think that's all of our questions. Oh, just one more from Nicolette that's asked, is it the same for Zapier in reference to the type format, with it being in the browser rather than an app?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, well, thank you ever so much for joining us this afternoon, everyone. If there's any final questions for Rick, then please just pop them into the chat box, and we'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. If not, then good luck with your digital endeavours over the next few weeks. We do still have a window of opportunity, don't we, before we think clinics will be fully operational again towards July. So now is the time to spend a bit of time looking into it, isn't it?
This is it. Yeah, you could achieve a lot in a month.
Yeah, good. Okay, thank you, everyone. Thanks, Rick. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Good to see you, Hayley.
Thank you. See you all again soon.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.